Okay, so let's get into Credo. So in your content, Unit 1, I've got Credo here, and this is the full text, but as you can see, it's kind of wonky. You can read it from this totally fine. You can still get the main ideas. I think it's a little prettier if you open up the text link here, and I'll drop this in the PDF. I'll drop this link in the chat in just a minute. But what we're also going to do is watch him talk. I think it's really great when we read something from somebody who's not a dead guy. You know, he's alive. You could email him. I don't know that he'd email you back, but you could. So that's what we're going to read, and then we're going to work on a response. So step 1, we got to read the thing. This way we're going to listen or watch him. If you want to have that tab open and follow along, there's the PDF. I just dropped the link in there for you. So if you want to follow along, that's totally cool. If you just want to watch him talk because he has a sexy British accent, that's fine. That's fine. No judgment. Okay, here we go. So he's giving what's called a preface, and so he is explaining that little stuff that says background. He's explaining that in his speech, just so you know.
I don't know how many of you heard about what happened today in Denmark.
Okay, let's see if we can make it a little bit louder. I'd turn up your volume. Okay, turn up your volume because I've turned up mine all the way.
I don't know how many of you heard about what happened today in Denmark, where there was a debate on freedom of speech between a bunch of people, including some cartoonists.
I wonder if I can do this. I'm sorry, guys. That's just so quiet. It is really hard to hear. And I played it ahead of time because I didn't want it to be hard to hear. But apparently, I lost that battle. Maybe it's something about it playing through my slides. Give me a sec. I don't know if there are subtitles, so I'm gonna make it full screen.
What could be said and what couldn't be said without
Aha!
draw pictures of, without getting killed, and really can't. And the debate, which was just in a cafe in Denmark, had begun, and some people drove past and fired at them. They killing 3 people. And I thought, I want to read them something I wrote. This is something I wrote a few weeks ago after the Charlie Hebdo massacre. And it's a credo. It's what I believe. I believe that it is difficult to kill an idea because ideas are invisible and contagious, and they move fast. I believe that you can set your own ideas against ideas you dislike, that you should be free to argue, explain, clarify, debate, offend, insult, rage, mock, sing, dramatize, and deny. I do not believe that burning, murdering, exploding people, smashing their heads with rocks to let the bad ideas out, drowning them, or even defeating them, will work to contain ideas you do not like. Ideas spring up where you do not expect them, like weeds, and are as difficult to control. I believe that repressing ideas spreads ideas. I believe that people and books and newspapers are containers for ideas, but that burning the people will be as unsuccessful as firebombing the newspaper archives. It is already too late. It is always too late. The ideas are out, hiding behind people's eyes, waiting in their thoughts. They can be whispered, they can be written on walls in the dead of night, they can be drawn. I believe that ideas do not have to be correct to exist. I believe you have every right to be perfectly certain that images of God or prophet or man are sacred and undefilable, just as I have the right to be certain of the sacredness of speech, of the sanctity of the right to mock, comment, to argue, and to utter. I believe I have the right to think and say the wrong things. I believe your remedy for that should be to argue with me or to ignore me, and that I should have the same remedy for the wrong things that you think. I believe that you have the absolute right to think things that I find offensive, stupid, preposterous, or dangerous, and that you have the right to speak, write, or distribute these things, and that I do not have the right to kill you, maim you, hurt you, or take away your liberty or property, because I find your ideas threatening, or insulting, or downright disgusting. You probably think some of my ideas are pretty vile too. I believe that in the battle between guns and ideas, ideas will eventually win, because the ideas are invisible and they linger, and sometimes they're even true. Eppur si muove, and yet it still moves.
Okay, fan yourself a little bit, because his voice is like, so good. I mean, why would I talk and read it when he can read it? Okay, so that is Credo. You also have a PDF of Credo that I have dropped in the chat, and I will drop it one more time. This is the text that I want you to be looking at. So it talks a little bit about why he wrote this in the first place. And so he wrote this because there was a magazine that posted a cartoon about Muhammad. And in the Muslim religion, you do not put Muhammad in, you don't write the name, and you don't write, like, you can't put him in the image of a man. And so their God is sacred to the point that he cannot be whittled down to the simplicity of a written or an image on paper. And because not only did they put Muhammad in an artistic form, but it was in a mocking way, like they did it for fun, there was a response. So the terrorist group Al-Qaeda killed 12 people who were associated with the magazine. Charlie Hebdo. I always have a hard time saying that. So that was his muse or the catalyst to why he wrote that. What we're going to focus on is a little bit later, paragraph 9. So you can see that all of these paragraphs are labeled. But let's pop on over to the K-12 so we can start debriefing this, because there's a lot of things that he says in there, and this is an opinion piece. So that means these are his opinions that he is sharing out and spreading for the world. And that doesn't mean that you have to agree with his opinions. But we are going to dissect it and break it down. So in K-12, in our Credo assignment, Credo response, you'll see a link to Google Classroom, and you open it up and it'll take you to something like this. Let's make this bigger for the folks on the side so they can see that. So write your response in the Credo CER. The other documents are there for your support and reference. So I have Credo, What I Believe. I've got a PDF of that. And then I have an example. So I'm going to walk us through the example. You might want to open up the Credo CER. So you should open up Credo CER. I'm going to open up the CER example and walk you through some things. So the Credo CER asks you to summarize Credo in 1 to 2 sentences. And then, what's the main idea? So, in order to figure out what the main idea of it is, we probably want to open up Credo. So he talks a lot about ideas. What about ideas is he saying? Do I have another? I don't need that button. Sorry, I'm just cleaning up. Okay, so in Credo CER, we need to summarize what it says, and then once we've summarized it, we can come up with the main idea. What do you mean access? What do you mean by access? Let's debrief what he is saying. So in order to summarize Credo, we need to figure out what he's saying. And so you might want to pop one of these opens in the other one. And so he's talking about ideas and his opinion about ideas, that it's hard to kill an idea, that you can have your own ideas, that people can have ideas that don't match up at all. But he gets down to this point that, like, if you try to kill an idea, it's kind of like you send more and more sparks and it actually just keeps going. He talks also about books and newspapers. They're containers for ideas, but ideas are still going to be carried and spread even if there's not a newspaper or a book. For example, social media. I mean, let's say Twitter is not a thing when you wake up tomorrow. There's still Facebook. There's still TikTok. Like, there's still ideas that are being spread and shared. Sometimes our ideas are shared in the form of writing. Sometimes people will do a little vlog. Hi, Emmy. Sometimes people will share their ideas just by in a picture or drawing. So there's a lot of ways that people can communicate ideas. I just love this. Is just, I wanted you to read it yesterday so that you could take a little bit of time to process it. So how would you summarize Credo? And you can start with something like this, like Credo. Credo by Neil Gaiman. I'll make that a little bit bigger so we can read that on the screen. There we go. So Credo by Neil Gaiman is like what? What is it about? About ideas. And now what about ideas? So I'm giving you like a little jumping off point. What about ideas? I want you to fill this out in the summarize. And then what is the main idea of Credo? So what about ideas? These two are very, very similar. So summarizing is like, how do I take this? Why does it disappear? How do I take this thing that is a page and how do I condense it down to a sentence or two? The main idea is even a little bit shorter than that. How do I take all of this and what's the author trying to say? So if I give you another example, like the three little Goldilocks and the Three Little Bears, if I summarize it, I would say that Goldilocks comes into these bears' house and then tries a bunch of stuff, eats their food, and sleeps in their bed. But the main idea of Goldilocks and the Three Little Bears is that you shouldn't be going into other people's houses and you should mind your own business. So another way that I could rephrase this is more like, what does the text say specifically? And then what is he saying? Like, what's the deeper meaning? Main idea is sometimes pretty similar to theme too. Okay, so give me feedback. Are we ready to look at 3 or should I stop here? Do you want me to explain number 2 a little more? So it's helpful to skim through as you're answering. What is the main idea? What is the summary? And then looking at this one, we're going to respond in a CER paragraph to paragraph 9.